Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. It's me today that's hosting because, unfortunately, Craig has got internet trouble over there in Ireland, bit like our defence. It's all over the place. So, unfortunately, you've got me today to go through the shambolic weekend that it was of Arsenal Football Club. Well, what can you say, boys? What can you say? Manchester City come into town and, well, within 15 minutes, it was game over. Game over. And for me, yesterday, felt sorry for the paying Arsenal fans that some of them paying up to £100 to watch Manchester City in a training session. That's how I see it. You know what I mean? And yeah, very, very disappointing. My thoughts on it, boys. This is what I think of it. You know, hope that Arsenal can win every game when they can. If they can't, you know, you can't expect to win every game. But when a team's better than you, the one thing that you can do is match them for work rate. And we didn't even do that yesterday. They worked harder than us. In fact, they showed us up really. You know what I mean? What lazy players we've got. You know, and I'll go from our front three, which was our front. Well, two of them anyway, which was Aubameyang and Pepe. Got shown up on Match of the Day. Apparently, got shown up when I watched it yesterday as well. Made me even more angrier when I see it. Like, you know what I mean? When you see like players of Man City chasing back and then just seeing ours just walk back. Martinelli can come out with credit. Mesut Ozil, we'll have a little chat about him like that. But as far as I'm concerned, showed more passion kicking his gloves off than he did at any stage of the game. And as for the defending, well, I'll tell you what, I think if we was in the Championship, I don't think we'd be in contention for that with that defending. I really don't. It's just absolutely awful. You know what I mean? I just can't. Some of the Callum Chambers, who we've sort of backed on here every now and then. Well, my God, what was he doing for the first goal? The second goal was embarrassing, and let's face it, boys. At half time, I honestly felt I could have walked out. I could have actually gone home at half time. It was, and from my point of view, I don't know how you feel, boys. It could have been 8 or 9 if they really wanted it. I think that they felt that they've got games coming up. Game was won and just took their foot completely off the gas and went from second gear, because that's all they got into, down to first gear. Harry, thoughts on it, please?
It's pretty depressing, weren't it? I mean, we went there not really expecting to beat Manchester City. I don't think anybody did, given the way we've been playing over the last few months. But like you said, at the very least, you want to match them for work rate. You want to match them for desire. And you hope that in front of our own supporters, we would show a bit more than we did. The defending left a lot to be desired. And for me, it wasn't so much the fact that, for the first goal that Jesus got in behind. It's how easy it is for him to then put the ball across the penalty area, which is what really frustrates me. You saw it with the second goal as well. De Bruyne's got 3 players around him and he's just carrying the ball, but nobody wants to make a challenge. And it's as if everybody's running scared. And, I said this on Twitter last night. I think that Kevin De Bruyne is one of the most complete footballers I've ever seen, in the sense that he can shoot, he can pass, he can dribble, he can cross, he's powerful, he works hard. Therefore, you cannot allow him like that sort of freedom and expect not to be punished. But, aside from the defending for a minute, Arsenal were pretty toothless going forward, I thought, as well, which was the frustrating thing. Other than a few bursts from Gabriel Martinelli, there wasn't really anything else of note. And that, for me, is what's really concerning. We all know that Arsenal got defensive troubles, but the way that we just threw the game away, in my opinion, inside 2 minutes, the minute we conceded that first goal, we were playing into City's hands. They were always going to be happy to sit a little bit deeper, collect the ball and just hit us on the break with their pace and with their class. And, yesterday was almost symptomatic of what is happening to Arsenal as a football club at the moment. The disinterest from some of the fans, people leaving really early. And, I'm not going to sit here and slate them because I get why they did it. You've given up your Sunday afternoon. As you mentioned, Lee, some people have paid £90 to £100 for a ticket for that game. To watch that, of course, they're going to be frustrated and they're going to take it out. There was a few incidents in the game which we're going to come on to discuss in a little bit. The Mesut Ozil thing and various other bits and pieces. News today that Mikel Arteta looks like he's going to take over. A little bit underwhelmed, if I'm honest. And just looking at what I saw yesterday, I don't think even Jesus Christ himself could turn his ship around at the moment.
No, I have to agree with you. We're going to talk about Mesut Ozil because George has come into the chat who I met on the tube yesterday. He's got a fantastic nickname for him called Slozil. That's what he calls him now. Like absolutely quality, like, you know what I mean? Because he, you know, we'll get onto him in a little while. First of all, Dan, what's your thoughts on it?
I'm going to start with two positives, but trust me, they're only going to be very, very quick because it's hard to be positive. I don't think Leno gets enough credit. I think the amount of shots that he has to deal with game after game, I actually do rate Leno as a goalkeeper. We've had a lot worse at the Emirates, trust me. We've had some shockers over the years. But I really do like this lad, and I think that he's got a lot to for us to be pleased about, because I actually do like the fact that he is quite good with not just his shot stopping, but also he seems to have a quite kind of calm attitude about him. I don't really see anything too erratic from him. So I'm a fan of Leno, and I think if it wasn't for him yesterday, it could have been 8 or 9. Thought that save onto the post was world class. So that's one positive. The other positive is Gabriel Martinelli, 18-year-old, I think, probably giving more effort than anyone I've seen on that pitch for the last couple of games. Can't believe he's not started before now. Every time he's been on the pitch, he has done something in the game which has got me excited. So for me, those are the only two positives I can take. The other player I didn't think that was horrendous was Torreira, and it does look like he's a little bit better in the middle when he's starting to be given a little bit more ability to hold in midfield. Now I'm going to come on to some negatives.
Of which there are plenty.
Of which there are plenty. I'm going to start with Aubameyang and Pepe. Now, listen, I didn't go yesterday to the game because I actually had a Christmas weekend with family that are moving up to Scotland for Christmas. So I'm not going to see them. So this was the only weekend we could see them before Christmas. And I'm so glad that I didn't go and watch that rubbish. I ended up selling me tickets for only about 65 quid each. And I'm more than happy with that because that was absolute toilet, what they had to sit and watch. So I feel sorry for them for going and sitting through that. But for me, I had it on. My brother-in-law had it on Sky Go, and I looked at his phone there, and I saw Martinelli go through about 30 seconds in. I thought, bloody hell, this looks all right, doesn't it? It's not so bad, but not bad start. 30 seconds later, we're 1-0 down, and the defending for that goal, I've got to point it out. I know that I give him a lot of stick, and people have said to me I'm harsh on this lad. But if anyone can please find the time to explain to me what Kolasinac is doing for the whole of that game, then please, I'd love to be proven wrong. I'd love someone to tell me that this guy's a good player. Okay, I'd love it. I'd love to be proven wrong. I'd love him to an absolute blinder.
I've got to defend him. I've got to defend him. Just briefly, I've got to defend him. Because the only times yesterday that Arsenal picked up the ball and powered forward in that first half were when he was on the pitch. The only moments of energy and power that Arsenal showed in that entire first half were when Sead Kolasinac got on the ball. Yes, he's not a good defender. He's not an out-and-out defender. He's a wing-back. He's not a full-back. But I just feel like we're picking on the wrong man here. I think he's been all right in the last few weeks, Dan.
Yeah, I'm going to have to... Sorry, Dan, but I'm going to have to go with Harry. I think, which is not a great thing, but he's been our best player in the last 3 or 4 games since Freddie Ljungberg's come into it. And that doesn't really tell a good story that if he is. But I understand what you're saying. He's the best of a bad bunch, let's be honest, So
that defending for me, I don't know what he's doing. Where was he with Sterling then? Was that good, was it?
No, that wasn't. No, we're trying from his attacking.
I just thought, I know he set up a goal the other night against West Ham, and that's good. That's one thing he's done this season, which has been all right. But for me, the defending there is just comical. I mean, it's unbelievable. I wouldn't mind if it was me at Sunday League or hungover. Do you know what I mean? But this guy's on 125 grand a week he's on now, and I don't think he's deserved it. That's the one critic I got for him. The other player I've already mentioned is Callum Chambers. Now, I've said this guy is not good enough for Arsenal for most of the season. However, he has been probably the best of a bad bunch, in my opinion. When it comes to people wanting to give him a chance. I think it's because he's young and English and he does look like he tries hard. But, it was Fulham's best player of the year, but they went down. He was apparently Middlesbrough's best player of the season. They went down. And now he's coming to try and be the best centre-half for Arsenal. I've seen too many errors and he just looks too slow to be a centre-back. He's not good enough to be a right-back. So, again, it's a player that we're going to have to sort of say is better than Luiz and Socrates, but still isn't good enough to play at the back. And the other player that really pains me to say it, is Matteo Guendouzi. I don't know what's happened to him the last few games. He's just looked like an absolute shambles. And what he needs is when he had a real couple of bad games when we were, I think it was away at Leicester, and then it started to go downhill a bit. He just needed somebody, a captain, a leader, a role model to put his arm around him and say, look, you've played a lot of games, son. All you need now is to get your head right and mentally get yourself into shape. And we've got nobody out there that can do that for the lad. So he's a 20-year-old who's had a lot of pressure on his shoulders because he's played a lot of games. And you've got players on much more money than him that are walking around the pitch in front of him. You need one of those players who are supposed to be these international quality players to put their arm around him. And that leads me nicely onto recruitment, which I want to go into, because I'm not going to talk about Mesut Ozil because you want to talk about that as a group. I would just I've been wanting to say this for weeks and I haven't been able to because I haven't been on here for the last couple of weeks. Recruitment. I'm going to do this as quick as I can. I want to take you back 4 years now to when Leicester won the league. Okay. We were in a position where we missed out on that. We didn't deserve to win the league, but we had a great chance, in my opinion, to compete that season. Everybody else was hopeless. Even Tottenham threw it away, didn't they? So after that season, we were in a situation where, believe it or not, we needed a defensive midfielder and a centre-back. That sounds familiar, doesn't it? So we needed those two positions to be filled. Now, we were offered, if the rumours are true, we could have had 32 million for a player called N'Golo Kante. But at the time, our recruitment said, I don't think we'll go for him. We're going to pay £2 million more and go for somebody called Granit Xhaka instead. So he goes to Chelsea and wins the league, right? That's the first thing. Then we would decide, should we go and pay 12 million for Van Dijk at Celtic? No. We don't want him. We want this lad called Mustafi from Valencia. He's only going to cost £35 million. £70 million. Meanwhile, down the road for £70 million, Jurgen Klopp buys Salah and Mane for about £1 million less combined. Then all of a sudden you look at what we've done since then, since Wenger's gone. We brought in Socrates, David Luiz. We've brought in players like Kolasinac. All of these players, for me, are completely and utterly overrated. Yet we've got teams either side of us that are now competing by an Andrew Robertson for 13 million, or was it 8 million from Hull? You look at what happened with Harry Maguire, who went to Leicester from Hull City. You look at what Liverpool did with Wijnaldum, who was at Newcastle, Shaqiri at Stoke. You look at players that Jurgen Klopp's brought in, like Van Dijk, like Alisson. And all of a sudden, you're looking at that squad now thinking some of these players could have been playing for us. And even if you take Kante and Van Dijk and put them into our side now, what would you be seeing us do now? Possibly compete for the top four, maybe even more, go with Liverpool and Man City, I don't know. But you would have two commanding leaders on the pitch. And our recruitment has been an absolute shambles for 5 years now. And if you compare what we've done with Jurgen Klopp at Liverpool and what Arsenal have done in the last 5 years, it's complete and utter chalk and cheese.
Well, I have to agree with that. The recruitment has been shambolic, and they're still there, aren't they? You know what I mean? Yeah. I'd have to say that if it was me, they'd be gone, sacked. Raul, get rid of him. Useless. You know what I mean? I look at the recruitment of all over. You know, I look at it now. I had a little rumour today that Lacazette's house has gone up for sale. That could mean two things. He's moving to another club, or he's just moving to a bigger house. You know what I mean? So who knows? But it's just everything is wrong about it. This go back to the summer. Let's go back to the summer quickly. You know, I'll say it now. The manager turned around, the coach at the time, he said he wanted Zaha. He never got him. So when you look at things like now, you know, we all know now that Arteta is going to get the job. Is Arteta in a position to sit there and go, well, for me to make this a success, I'm going to need £200 million? Are they so desperate to sign him that they're going to agree to that? No, but that's what it's going to take. But even if he says, right, £200 million, would you? I wouldn't back this board to spend that properly.
No,
but you know what I mean. I look at the players they're recruiting. and they're just not good enough. We've got players at the club, and let's be honest, we're trying to get rid of in the summer, but we couldn't, and now they're playing. It's shambolic.
It makes you it shows you how bad the previous regime was with Gazidis and Wenger. When you were trying to sell Mustafi for £5 million and he doesn't go, but yet Villa will pay 25 million for Tyrone Mings, but we can't get 5 million for Koscielny and Mustafi and El Neni and all these players. These players are toilet. Nobody wants them. Nobody wants them.
I would say that what's gone on in the last 18 months or so has actually shown Arsene Wenger in a better light than made it, looking back at him and saying, he messed this up from the start. For me, that nobody at that football club is connected. You've got a board signing players that the manager doesn't want. Now, I didn't like Unai Emery. I was one of his biggest critics, but I accept that he didn't want some of those players that were brought into the club. He's even said it. He wanted Fabinho. He didn't want Torreira. There was a lot of players that Unai Emery probably wanted the club to bring in and they didn't. So until that disconnect is fixed, until you get a manager and the board singing on from the same hymn sheet, you're always going to have this. The recruitment's always going to be iffy. You're always going to get some players in that actually come in, hit the ground running, and you're going to get others that it just doesn't work. And that's kind of the risk you take. Going back to the point about like Van Dijk and stuff, for me, I was laughing at Liverpool when they paid that amount of money for Virgil van Dijk, because I don't think anybody could have envisaged that he was going to become probably the best centre-back in world football. So I think there is an element of luck to that as well at times. And you look at, somebody like, Sadio Mane came from Southampton, looked a decent player. Again, did anyone really envisage him becoming the player he is? There is an element of luck with any deal that you do. You hope that it works out. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. For all the players that we've mentioned that have worked out, we could probably run off a list just as long of players that haven't as well. So I think with that, for me, the Arsenal's problems are much deeper than just the players we've signed. I think the whole structure is broken. At least Arsene Wenger had a clue about football when he was signing players. Maybe his ideas were out of date. I totally accept that. But we've fallen further since he's gone. And that's because we've tried to put different people in different positions. Nobody's communicating with each other. I mean, it's a fucking disgrace that we've put Freddie Ljungberg in as the interim manager. He doesn't even have staff to work with. He doesn't even have enough people. Flipping Burger King have enough staff behind the counter. And Arsenal Football Club, a multi-billion-pound organisation at the elite level of sport, do not have enough staff to run training sessions, to do analysis. It is pathetic. It is a complete and utter shit show. And ultimately, this stems from the Cronkies at the top. They just don't give a shit about this football club. They don't care what happens to it. And the priority, as Gunnar Russ put in the comments, I've lost the comment, but as Gunnar Russ said, the priority's got to be to get him out. Because until he goes, until someone comes in with actual ambition, we're going to be talking about the same stuff over and over again for years and years and years.
Yeah, I agree. What we've got to do is we've got to get him out and get somebody in that cares. But also, you have to blame, the Cronkies for or whoever for employing the shambolic people that are in charge now. Raul, the other fella, was it V9? You know what I mean? Like, they've got to go. They've proved to be incapable of running this football club. Yeah, but this is what I'm saying. I look at it, right? Emery is like the beacon, isn't he? Like, not good enough for the football club, so has to go, and rightly so. Yeah, but these guys are as what's the word I'm looking for? Like, as culpable as him. They've been useless. It's been as Harry says, it's been a shit show. They've got to go, but why are they still there? Now, Arsene Wenger is coming for a lot of stick, and we've all criticised. I wanted Wenger out, but one of the things that really annoyed me about Wenger was that he covered for this board for many a year, many a season, and took all the road. If he would have come out 2 years ago, said, "You know what? They're giving me no money, getting this and getting that," the fans would have backed him. But he covered for them, and for that was his downfall, as far as I'm concerned, because he shouldn't have done that. You know what I mean? And then at the end of the day, they stuffed him at the end, and that was it. Emery come out last season and said in January they've got no funds. You know, and people were trying to make excuses for them. Oh, we got this on our books, we got that on the books. Right. So here we go. We go and get 5 or 6 of the big earners off the books, right? Off the books. And still we haven't got the right people in place. You know, I said a year ago, boys, on an interview, like, that the whole back four is not good enough. Get rid of it and start again. Now, I'm a fan and I can see that, right? So these people are getting paid, right? And they can't see that. And the one player they've got rid of is Koscielny, and that's because he wanted to go. Because I can tell you this now, boys, if Koscielny didn't want to go, he would still be there.
Mm-hmm.
When are they going to look at other people in this club take responsibility? So as far as I'm concerned now, I'm gonna back Arteta as much as I can. But at the end of the day, there's no way I'm ever going to support this board ever again. Now, I'm infuriated by it all. Like, I pick up on the internet the other day and whatever, like, you've got Ian Wright, Nigel Winterburn, all of them promoting the bruised banana shirt, £70 for a shirt just before Christmas. They want you to spend money all the time. And what are we getting back? Nothing. We're getting back championship defenders, championship midfield players, and Europa League forwards. That's what we're getting now. You know what I mean? And it is absolutely, I just can't see what's going on. I cannot see why. And then I look on Twitter today and people are trying, still defending the ball. Oh, it's not Cronke's fault. It's we have spent money. Right, okay, we've spent money on crap. So get rid of the people that are spending this money on crap.
Lee, you've got a business. If your business doesn't work, whose fault is it?
The people that work in there.
Yeah, but obviously you're overseeing it, so you would be held. You would be to blame if you let them get away with doing jack shit every day, and they ran your business into the ground. That'd be your fault for letting them get away with it, and that's the point. And the problem is, like, people just fall for so much absolute nonsense. Like the summer, we've got Nicolas Pepe. We know now that Emery wanted Zaha. And 72 million probably would have persuaded Palace to sell Zaha. Yeah. But the reason it didn't is because Arsenal don't actually have any fucking money and they want to pay everybody in installments. That is why we didn't get Wilfred Zaha, because Crystal Palace did not want to get 10 million a year, 10 million here, 10 million there. They didn't want that. That's how Arsenal want to do business. That's why we're limited in the transfer market, because we can only bring in people that either cost jack shit or we're going to clubs who are desperate for money and will accept any sort of structured deal. Lille were in desperate need of the money. They needed to secure their future. That's why they took the deal. That is what Arsenal are all about. And then they pull this narrative over everybody's eyes. Oh, look, we spent £72 million. We're still going to be paying for him in 10 years bloody time. And he's crap. He's not done anything. I mean, I'm angry now and I'm going over the top. But for me, Pepe hasn't justified the money we spent on him. He hasn't yet.
But do you not think as well? Sorry, Lee. Do you not think as well, though, that you look at the positions that we've needed for the last 10 years? Centre back and defensive midfield, and we're still buying players like Pepe. We're still looking at Lacazette and Aubameyang. We're still getting in the young kids in Martinelli and Saka, which is great. I'm all for it. When I look at it, I'm thinking, why have we still not got a Patrick Vieira? Why have we still not replaced Gilberto Silva? Why have we still not replaced Sol Campbell? They both left 15 years ago. They've been retired about 5 or 6 years. It's just an absolute joke that we're still in this position, that we've not even looked at replacing those two positions. But people are still saying, we signed 72 million for Pepe. Now, I know it was only over installments. I know it was actually only about 25 million or whatever it be. But you can guarantee that the Iwobi money we still should have sitting there, £40 million, we won't be getting a centre-back with that in January, because we're wanting to be spend about £15 million of it over 5 years. So I just can't understand why we're looking at this situation still with no Sol Campbell replacement and no Patrick Vieira or even Gilberto Silva. He was there as at the Emirates still, and he's still not replaced. We've always had bit part players. We've had Song, Flamini, Coquelin, Arteta, Denilson, Diaby. None of them have been Gilberto Silva or Patrick Vieira quality. They've all just been a bit part job. And now we've done the same with Lucas Torreira. What do? We play him up front and we sit Granit Xhaka there instead. I'm just sick and tired of it. We've not had proper defensive midfielder with presence. They're out there, boys. We are out there. We could easily get them. We don't have to look far. We can look in the Premier League. We can look at Ndidi. We can look at Decore from Watford. They would come to Arsenal, but we're not doing that because we want to try and look at how many people we can get on the cheap. You watch what happens in January. It will be bugger all.
Well, like if it is, you know what I mean. You know, you've got then the fans have got a decision to make, and I think that is, you know, to boycott games, to protest, everything like that has got to come into play. You know, like the Pepe one is nothing more than a PR stunt. Someone just put that in the chat, and I totally agree with that because I watch Nicolas Pepe, right, and I'm going to say this now: if Iwobi was doing that, there would be all hell to break loose. It would be unbelievable. He has done absolutely nothing apart from a goal against West Ham, which was a fantastic goal. I'll give him that. But yesterday, his work rate it's not there. You know, all he done yesterday was showboat. That's all he done, like little flicks and little turns and little step overs. You know what I mean? I think it was probably the world record for step overs without getting anywhere. I think it's got to be a record. I'm going to go and have a little look. He done 6,662 step overs and moved 2 yards. You know what I mean? It's a ridiculous thing. You know what I mean? It looks all good on the eye, but it don't get you nowhere. And then when he does a flick in the second half, when you're 3-0 down, all a fancy flick, you've got people cheering it. It's, you know, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. You know, doesn't do enough. Aubameyang yesterday.
And how much does it all cost, Lee? Do you know what I mean? Because
exactly.
I just got to put this up from Christian here because it's just look at our goal difference. That's what scares me the most. How much money have we spent on our forward front four? And we've got our goal difference is -3.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know, I'm gonna stick up a little bit for Aubameyang, and I'm not gonna, like, you know, I thought he was absolutely horrendous yesterday. I'm fed up, by the way, of people giving him a free ride for 3 or 4 times, keep pulling out of tackles. 3 or 4 times he's done it now, like, you know, and that's because he's there to score goals. You're still there to put your body on the line. I don't give a damn who you are. But when you look at it, he's watching players like De Bruyne, Jesus having the freedom of the park. They got more space than I ever had when I played. And then when he gets the ball, they're on him, touch tight, you know, they give him a kick here and there. Like, you know, it is absolutely horrendous. And he'd been looking at it, and I can see him getting frustrated by it, boys. I can see him getting frustrated. You could give him a free ride saying that, he's not committed or he's not this and he's not that. But I think it is out of absolute frustration. Now, I watched him yesterday and I thought, do you know what? I'm going to have a good look at you yesterday. Like, you know, he does things in fits and starts, you know, he'll chase down for 2 minutes and then he'll have a breather for 10, you know. Yeah, we can't be doing this. We cannot be doing this. We've got to have players that are going to be working hard all the time. When I looked at Man City yesterday, I see them working and working hard, you know what I mean? And I don't see it from us. And it starts from the forwards. They start it off, you know, and it goes from there. And I have to say, I look at other teams and I see them working harder than us. And listen, why Abba and Lacazette get a little bit of stick and all that? I've got to go on to him now, and that is Mesut Ozil. And I'm gonna say my piece now. All the fanboys and all that, I don't care no more. I don't care what you think about it. I want players to play for Arsenal Football Club and I want them to do well. And I have backed him and hoped him to do well. I watched him yesterday. It was a disgrace. It was an absolute disgrace. People turned around and said, right, when he comes back into the team, he's going to create. He's not created one chance since he's come back. His work rate is shambolic. You know, this is a player that's got so much talent, boys. You know what I mean? And do you know what highlighted it for me yesterday? Was a kid that come on that's got nowhere near as much talent as him, done more in 5 minutes than he done in the whole time that he was on there, and showed him up for what he is, because it doesn't matter how much talent you got. If you haven't got the heart and desire and passion to play football, then it's not going to work. And for me, Mesut Ozil, Slozil was, George called him on the tube yesterday, like, summed him up, like, you know, and he is going to be given a lot of stick because of what he is and what he ain't and whatever. But, you know, for me, boys, now the time has come. If whoever comes in, they've got to bin him. They've got to bin him. And I'm sorry, they probably should have binned him a long time ago. But I thought he'd come in and do the business. But you know, he's thrown Freddie under the bus. It's just like all of them. Like, you know, the attitude that he showed. Do you know what? I've seen Granit Xhaka get a load of dog's abuse, and quite rightly for what he done, coming off the pitch slowly and all that. And if I was watching that, I think, well, that's one thing I'm not going to do, because I don't want to upset all that, you know, the 50,000 fans. He just walks off like, you know, sod you, like, I don't care. And that's what there's players in this football team that do not care about playing for Arsenal Football Club. Get rid of them, and quicker the better.
But you got to ask yourself as well why they don't care about playing for Arsenal Football Club, and you got to get to the root of that problem. And the Ozil problem, the Ozil thing, is not. It's been building up, hasn't it? First, it was Unai Emery, and he was leaving him out of the team, and he didn't want to know him, and he was picking on him. And in my opinion, you know, yes, Ozil doesn't perform to anywhere near his capability, but he ain't been worse than the likes of Joe Willock or anybody else that's been coming in and deputizing in those positions for him. And then you had the whole incident last week where Ozil, he put something on social media about the Chinese treatment of Muslims in that country. And I'll be honest, I don't know anything about the subject. I'm not going to sit here and comment on it, because I'd be lying and pretending that I know about something I don't. But, you know, that's Mesut Ozil's right to say what he wants to say. It's nothing to do with us. You know, he's a Muslim. He obviously feels like he had to have his say on that issue. And then for me, Arsenal Football Club have just acted like complete and utter idiots. Now, you don't have to make a single comment about Mesut Ozil's comments. If Mesut Ozil wants to say what he wants to say, you let him say it. In no way has he sort of made the point that is Arsenal's view. So for the club to come out and quickly distance themselves from Mesut Ozil's comments because they're worried about obviously losing TV money and God knows what else in China, for me, that was kind of like throwing Ozil under the bus. And it's another example of where the club haven't necessarily backed him. I'm not saying that excuses his performances, but there's lots and lots of frustrations going on behind the scenes at this football club. Players are getting wound up by all sorts of things. You know, when the second goal went in, I don't know if anybody managed to get a glance at him. When the second goal went in, Ozil absolutely lost his shit. He had the biggest go at our defenders. The biggest go I've ever seen him have at anyone since he's come to Arsenal. He had a massive go about it. And then when he gets taken off, he doesn't want to come off that early in the game. He walks off in a hump. People booing him, ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous, because the whole team were absolutely shit yesterday. He walks off, he kicks his glove. So fucking what if he kicks his glove? On the one hand, people are saying, oh, he doesn't care, he doesn't show any emotion. And then when he does show emotion, or like Granit Xhaka showed emotion, the fans were all over him. It just drives me mad. They're football players, they're human beings. Let them react with a bit of emotion from time to time. We don't have to micro-analyze every single action that these players have. You know, oh, this guy dropped his head, this guy did this guy did that, he looked up to the sky, or what. It's so over the top. Lacazette yesterday warming up, if people want to go into so much detail, he looked like he couldn't be asked. He weren't even wearing boots.
No, he was trainers, didn't he?
He was wearing his trainers. But no one will talk about that. That's my point.
Well, because I'm going to talk about that a little bit later, Harry. That's another one of my things that I've got. You know, listen, I've got no problem with players reacting like Mesut Ozil did. You know, having the ump and all that. Like, you know, I had the ump when I got took off. You know what I mean? At times, you know what I mean. It's a natural thing. You want to carry on playing, but what gives me the ump about it is, you know what I mean. He you know, and I get him. He's probably got the ump because he hasn't got no justification for not coming off. But what he could actually say is, well, why me? Because as you're quite rightly saying, there's the other 9 players were as bit, or 10 players, 9, 8 players, because I'm going to put in Martinelli done really well, and Leno, but any one of them can come off, like, you know what I mean. And I think that Freddie probably, do you know what, as knew he wasn't going to get the job, felt that he was going to be let down by the senior players. I don't know if you noticed this, but like at the end of the game, 3 players in the midfield in their 20s. I think he just said, right, you know, that's why he done that, to just show them that's the way to go. That's the way he feels that it's to go. You know, no experience. He took Torreira off as well, didn't he? And played, you know, the 3 20-year-olds in there. And I think that was you know, a relating bit there. Russ has just said in the chat there as well about bad eggs. All right, okay, you know, and this is what I'm going to get onto now. What sort of, I know you might think I'm wrong here, but what sort of example does that set when a senior player goes on for a warm-up with his trainers? I've never ever seen it in my life as
I
a
didn't even know
football
about
player
that. I wasn't
and
even
as
aware
a
of that.
fan. Me and mate, who sits next to me, Kevin, turned around and said, he's got trainers on there. We, you know, my eyes ain't the greatest. I think, no, they can't be, but they were. You know, what gives you the one? Why is he doing it? But two, you have to ask the question: why is he allowed to do it as well? But it's so soft all around. You know what I mean? You know, I'd like to ask, you know, ex-players or whatever, like, you know what I mean? Have they ever seen it before? Because I've never seen it before. Harry, what's your take on that?
Yeah, it's just complete and utter disrespect, isn't it? It's like, you know, like people were getting onto Freddie yesterday because Saka took so long to come on as well, and it's like he's taking off. If you watch the video, he's taking off about he's taking off about 10 shirts. I mean, where is the organization? And you know, Freddie ain't got no staff, so I can't really blame it all on him because he can't keep tabs on everything. But it's just the attitude of our players at the moment. It's just completely out of order. Is completely wrong. And you know, Lacazette's probably pissed off that he's not in the team, and I get that, and he's frustrated and all that, but you know, you got to keep some level of professionalism. And I saw it straight away. I sit in that corner where the subs were warming up. As soon as he come out, it was like, what are you doing?
Do you know when I was playing, like, and sometimes when you was on the bench or whatever, right, our subs were told, if, say, like, oh, Judges goes down injured, you have to get up and warm up. So-and-so gets down, you have to get... So you had 4 or 5 players, you know what I mean? If they ever got injured, you automatically had to get up and warm up. It was part of your job, right? So say if one got injured, I'd have to... Oh, it's you. Oh, it's Fred that's got injured, right? You'd have to go. And you'd have people on the bench nudging them and saying, oh, you've got to get up and warm up. That is semi-professional level. This is professional elite level, and someone's not right. And we went down to 10 men because of that, right? Now, I'm telling you this now. I was fuming about that because I forgot to mention this yesterday. Like, we had the ball, right? And Sacco's ready. We should have just kicked it out and started again. We didn't even do that. I'm shouting out, kick the ball off. We're down to 10 men with against Manchester City. You know, and for me, it just highlighted all the problems of Freddie, all the problems of our players. And a player going out there with trainers is just, to me, you know, in the second half, in his defence, he had his boots on. But what happens if someone got to... You've got to be surely match day ready in your head and things like that. I just don't understand it. I really don't, like, you know.
That's it.
Again, it comes down to lack of leaders again, doesn't it? It's lack of leaders on the pitch. It's lack of a captain. It's lack of a manager with discipline. It's lack of staff with discipline. It's just a complete and utter shambles, and it goes to prove that, again, our owners have completely messed us up. And I've just heard that, and everyone has in the chat box, that Ancelotti's gone to Everton. So that's a really good bonus for us as well, isn't it?
I mean, we needed someone, right? Arsenal is a traditional great football club with values, you know, and I know that it wasn't really that big a deal about Freddie's suit and all that, but it was certain things that an Arsenal manager was expected to do, that an Arsenal player was expected to do. There was almost a code of conduct around how you had to represent this football club. And that is why I wanted a big name, top level manager, somebody like Carlo Ancelotti, who's won it all. He's managed all the big football clubs in the world, to come in and say, you know what, fuck the lot of you. You're doing it my way from now on. This is what we're going to do. And someone who's got a big enough name and a big enough reputation to come in and demand from people. Not someone who's going to come in and try and be their friend. Emery was the opposite to that. Feels like Lundberg's trying to be mates with everyone. You know, you needed that big person to come in and really shake everyone up.
Harry, I feel like Freddie was in a very difficult position because he probably knew that he weren't going to get the job. So if he upsets players, he knows he's got to go back to coaching them in a couple of weeks. And if you're dumping players, you know what I mean, it's a very, very difficult position. And all of a sudden, you're not going to get the respect of say, someone that you've left out. So it's always going to be difficult. Now, the thing with Ancelotti, you know, I think we'd all like that from that point. But I don't think that we need an Ancelotti. I think that we need someone that's also, because we're going to need someone that's going to coach players as well, like, you know, make our younger players better. Now, I don't know if that is Arteta, but that's someone we've got to be looking at, someone that's going to be a real coach. Now, I think young and vibrant. I think that's what we need to go for. I just think that Ancelotti's a little bit too old. You know what I mean? That's my opinion. And I think that Arsenal are going to go down the road of young, ambitious.
See, I had that view, that mindset as well, Lee, because I remember saying on here that I wanted Nagelsmann, Ten Hag, a young coach, even Poch, someone who was young and worked with the young players. But do you not think as well now, I'm kind of siding with Harry a bit now, to think that Diego Simeone, Ancelotti, Allegri would just put the shivers up them all and just start saying, right, you're not going out with trainers, and just be a bit old school, because these players need to wake up big time, and it does need a shake up. You know, so maybe that is the way to go. I don't know, but whatever happens, the board look to want Arteta. So it looks to me like we are going to go for a younger coach, and we are going to have to get behind this lad now.
I feel like Arsenal have fallen so far in the last few years that we need a stabilizer. We need to stop looking at progressing forward in the next 5 or 6 years, because right now we're in free fall. We're falling, and we need to stop that first. Then we can look to build. I mean, listen to this, right? This is a manager that's joining Everton now. 3 Champions Leagues, an FA Cup, a Premier League, Spanish Cup, German Championship, Italian Championship, Italian Cup, FIFA World Club Cup winner, UEFA Super Cup winner 3 times, French champion, German. He's won everything in football. And this guy will prefer to go to Everton because they've got a board who are ambitious, who want to spend money.
I don't have preferred, Harry.
Well,
I don't have to prefer, because I don't think Arsenal have gone for him.
Yeah, that's the difference.
Maybe not. But the fact that he's even considering going to Everton at a time when we're in desperate need of a manager is a reflection of where this club is.
Well, I think Arsenal have, have not gone down that route. They've gone down the route of a young, vibrant manager. But the worrying thing about that, though, is you just said really all those things there. All that, and I'm not being disrespectful when I say this about Arteta, the only thing that he's managed is a 5-a-side. You know what I mean? Like, he's done nothing else. He's not managed a game of football. It's a massive, massive gamble. But this is Arsenal. You know what I mean? Everything's a gamble at the moment. Now, I think, right, if also, let's be honest about this. I'm trying to be how I see it, right? If Arteta was the man to take over, they'd have got him 2 or 3 weeks ago, right? Yeah. I honestly think that they've probably gone for somebody else and they've not been able to get them, right? You know. So, say if it is, I don't know, Pochettino, just say it is him or whatever, like, you know. If they go and hire Ancelotti and it don't work, right, how are they going to get rid of him? It's so much easier if they can get rid of Arteta and then get the man that they really want. You know, that's what I feel. For me, Arteta isn't the answer. I'm with you, Harry. I can see like your disappointment in your face that he's gone to Everton. You know, it's a big kick in the teeth. Don't forget, with Arteta also, boys, that was an Everton player as well. And on another side of it all there, Ferguson's been doing quite a decent job for him in the last couple of games, and they've still gone down and got their man.
Yeah, because they're ambitious.
And that shows that they're ambitious. That, well, not as well as that, they've got people in there that care, Harry.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Ken Wright's there every single game. Where is our people? Where are they?
Don't let this club pull the wool over your eyes and make you think that it's because they want a young, progressive manager, because it ain't. It's because they want somebody that ain't going to challenge the status quo. It's because they want somebody that isn't going to go in there and make demands. They want somebody who the job is bigger than, so that he'll be happy to accept it and happy to work under their conditions. Just a quick thanks to Shaheen Shamanzar for that donation. Wow. Huge thanks.
Blimey.
He says, hope you guys are good, especially the Gov. There is nothing of the club I love left anymore, and the board is to blame and the players to a certain degree. Why a reputable manager would want the job with this group and tight board? Why would they risk their reputation? It's a good point.
You're right. Fantastic point. Because, listen, even if we did want Ancelotti, and they said to him, like, and this could well be that, like, Ancelotti was probably going to be offered more money, not financially in himself personally, but more funds at Everton than he is at Arsenal. And that is the truth. You know what I mean? Like, he's probably been offered, I'll give you 150 million pounds to spend at Arsenal, at Everton. Arsenal are not going to do that. You know, I'd imagine that the board are turning around and saying, "Yeah, you know, Mikel, you can have £100 million if you sell Arteta, if you sell Aubameyang and Lacazette, then you can have that funds." But that's what it's going to be, boys. You know what I mean? And that is where it comes down to. There's no investment in this club. Why are Everton being able to spend out? Why are Everton being able to attract someone like Ancelotti and offer him a good money when they've got no stadium? They're building a stadium. They're going to have to we all done this 15 years ago nearly, and still nothing's done. You know, because we've got a board member, a man like Kroenke, taking all of our money and funding it to a stadium out in America and funding his other stuff. And until we get this man out, we are never, ever going to be able to attract the top players. Something, by the way, was promised to us 13 years ago.
Agreed. Sorry, Dan, just want to say thanks to Harry Weston as well. He says the Kroenkes are mirroring the LA Rams with their young manager who goes to the Super Bowl thinking it will work over here. They're so far detached. And a big thanks to Harry. He's made a couple of donations, I think, this evening. The chat is filling up so quickly. I keep missing them. Thank you so much. Go on, Dan. Sorry, mate.
No, you're all right, buddy. I was just going to talk about the Kroenkes and the what ifs, really. And I know it's a bit depressing, but I always can't help but think what would have happened if Usmanov and David Dean would have gone back and bought that club off of Kroenke. Because I sit there now and I think I've mentioned this bloke's name before, but Roman Abramovich for me has been fantastic for Chelsea, and Usmanov was richer than him. I think Usmanov was something like number 2 in the world of football as opposed to Roman Abramovich, who's number 11. So it just proves how rich he was. And obviously Kroenke doesn't want to budge, and you just think he would have thrown money in the right places, in the right areas that we need. And it just seems to be more of a love for Arsenal with David Dean. And yeah, what's this unique 79 guys are on the ropes? What an utter disgrace.
Someone's just put in the chat there.
Totally agree.
Let's get this right. Someone's just put in the chat there, just seen it. We've spent 140 million in the summer. Right? Yes, we did spend 140 million in the summer, but we recouped about 100 odd million. You know what I mean? So we don't get fooled by how much we spent. You know what I mean? Like, we recruited a lot of that money. And that's the problem that we've got at this moment in time. You know, it is going to take us a very, very big amount of money to sort out this back four, because gone are the days, boys, when you can go to Brighton and just nick someone on the cheap, or go to somewhere. If you want to go and get Dunk, do you think they're going to give him to us? We're going to have to pay big money for him. You know what I mean? Like, we're going to have to go and pay big money for certain players. You know, and where are the? Look, listen, we've got a fantastic deal on Martinelli. Someone somewhere there picked him up for £6 million. Is maybe we've got to do a few of them as well. But you know, we went and spent the £6 million that we got for Martinelli. We wasted 8 on David Luiz. You know, this is what I'm saying. You know, we've got a £50 million striker sitting on the bench. You know, and if he don't sit on the bench, then we've got a £70 million player sitting on the bench. You know, these are the problems that we've got. You know what I mean? The recruitment's not been good. We've got, and I'm sorry, boys, but if you've got a chairman or an owner that's watching the games, he can see for himself what's going wrong. You know, Ken Wright, see what was going wrong at Everton. Then down the road, see what was going wrong with Pochettino, see it. Chelsea, see it with Abramovich. We have got to get somebody in there, and you know, if the Russian fellow that we was there having there would have been there, Ultimov, whatever his name is, if we'd have got him, he would have been at the games every game. Do you know why? Because he follows Arsenal.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And that is the problem we've got. We've got people that do not care about. Do you think those Kroenkes are hurting like us three are, and all the people in the chat about Saturday's game? They'd have looked at the thing and said, "Oh, Arsenal lost 3-0. Oh, God." You know what I mean? And that's it. Let's go. You know, that's what they're worried about. They're not. They don't hurt like we do, and that's the problem.
But I think as well, you look at the 2 best signings we've had in the last 2 transfer windows. It has been Martinelli and Guendouzi, and they both cost 6 to 8 million. Right? We've spent a lot of money in my opinion, but it's been in the wrong areas of the squad and on the wrong players. You know, we've spent a lot of money on Mustafi, a lot of money on Xhaka, and if we've got players on a free, we've whacked them on ridiculous contracts like Mkhitaryan and Kolasinac. You know, these are all on over 100. I think Mkhitaryan's on £180,000 a week still. We still can't get rid of him, so we've had to loan him. All these players are stinking the place out, and we cannot get rid of them. El Neni still can't find a club, on loan. Back he comes in the summer. We need to get rid of these players now. They're just dead wood. And if I was Freddie, still now, no matter what happens with Arteta, I would just be saying to these young lads, let's get Saka involved. Let's get Martinelli. Let's play Smith Rowe instead of Ozil. Let's give Joe Willock a go next to Guendouzi. Let's give Bellerin, Tierney, Chambers and Holding a chance to play his four at the back. Because at the moment, the players at the senior in this club, they're just not cutting the mustard. And it's not just all about Granit Xhaka and Kolasinac. It is Mustafi, it is Luiz, it is Socrates, it is Mesut Ozil. So it isn't just 2 or 3 players that we all hate. There's 4 or 5 that are really not pulling their weight, but they seem to be playing every single game. Now, I'm glad that David Luiz has been dropped. That's good. And Freddie's starting to play a few youngsters, and he is hooking off people like Mesut Ozil for Smith Rowe. That's all great to see. But for me, maybe that's what Arteta, if he does come in, has to do with these young players, because Chelsea have done it and proven that it can work. And I just hope that the attitude is better with some of our youngsters, because the senior players, their attitude absolutely stinks because they're on ridiculous wages every week.
I don't know. The thing with playing all the young players, it's a nice idea. In theory, it sounds good, but I don't see how a manager who's been given, like Freddie Ljungberg, he's coming in the interim with the idea of trying to turn things around, trying to get us back on track. And then I don't see how a manager can take that risk. I really don't. Like, I just
but Harry, you'd say take a risk. So, but what are those seniors players are going to be any better than, say, I don't know, let's say Rob Holding than Socrates. Let's say Willock than somebody like Xhaka. Let's say Smith Rowe than Ozil. I just personally don't see at the moment that those senior players are like, you can't drop me. I'm too good for this team. We should have those young kids.
But if you make those comparisons, like the ones you just made, like there's some of them that I get. Like for me, Martinelli, every time he plays, he performs, warrants a place in the side. Joe Willock, 1 week is okay, and the next week is shocking. Guendouzi, 1 week is all right, the next week is shit. This is the problem that you get when you rely on young players. The most difficult thing to get out of a young player is a consistent performance.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
And at this point, where Arsenal are in freefall, like this is not a case of Arsenal going, you know what, we're going to miss out on the top 4, but we're still going to finish between 5th and 8th. So I can take that risk because it's not going to make that much difference. We're not going to get the top 4 anyway. We're in a point now where we're actually in freefall. The Arsenal are falling at a rate like they've never fallen before. And because of that, we need to steady it somehow. And I just think that if I was a manager and I only had a brief amount of time to make an impact, I couldn't put my hand on my heart and say that I trust Willock more than Xhaka, or that I trust Guendouzi more than. Like,
do you think they give more effort though, Harry? Do you see them and think actually that they might not be as good as, say, if you don't think Willock's as good as Xhaka, let's say, I see Willock putting in more effort, and they might not be that good. And that's what I used to respect about Iwobi. He used to get so much stick. I would rather have 11 Iwobis that are trying and ripping their heart out than a Mesut Ozil walking around a pitch. But that's just my opinion.
I think like we get caught up in this thing where we're like, we need them to run more, we need them to track back. Manchester City yesterday, they didn't run a great deal more than Arsenal. What Manchester City do is they are clever. They work smarter, not harder. You see Gundogan or Rodri, and a player gets beyond them. They don't chase them back for 40 yards. They don't cover more distance than an Arsenal player. They foul them, exactly, because they're working smarter, not harder. And we're naive in that sense.
Totally agree with that, Harry. Totally agree with that. We're not wise up on that light. But also, you have to ask yourself, I watched Manchester United work their absolute socks off to get in and around them, disjoint them and whatever. Like, we never done that. You whatever you say, we never done that. And the worrying thing for me is, right, put all of our experienced players into the team. Yeah, not one of them would get into the Manchester City side. Not one of them.
Agreed.
Now, when there's that, that you've got to say to yourself, even if you're with players, it must be one player that can get into that side. And there isn't. They wouldn't have one of our players. If you went to Pep, like, you can take one of them, like, go, no, thank you, I'm happy with what I got. And that is the real problem that Arsenal, the experienced players, are not good enough because they keep continuing letting us down, and the youngsters are not quite ready yet. But with the youngsters,
yeah, I agree with that. Good point. That's a good point.
With the youngsters, what they need is somebody that they can look up to, and someone that they can think,
Yep.
do you know what I mean? This is this is what it's all about. What they're seeing is players just continually let them down, not bothered. So what does that do? Makes them not bothered so much. I look at Willock yesterday, and he's been in and around the squad all the time. And then off comes Mesut Ozil. He's not put in. They put in Smith Rowe's not been about all the time, and then he takes off Torreira and puts him on. But then he must look at himself and say, well, I've got to be given a chance better than someone like Torreira, better than someone like Xhaka, but they're not. I mean, how many more times are these players of experience going to be given chances before they turn around and say, like, enough is enough? I look at our back four, probably now in this game here, Chambers will be dropped, and deservedly so. And we'll have Louise come back. But the same mistakes will happen again. You know what I mean? And we'll continue to do it. There's a weak mentality. And I don't want, when you go into a dressing room, it's got to be a good dressing room, but it's also got to be a ruthless dressing room. When I mean, like, if things are not going right, people will tell you this is not acceptable, this is not right. You don't need the manager to come and tell you that. Like, if you're not pulling your weight or you're not doing something, players should be in there pulling you up on it. But if your top players are the ones that are causing all the crap, it's not like someone like Joe Willock can go up to Mesut Ozil and go, oi, you ain't pulling your weight here. It comes from the players up the top, and it's just all round just not been good enough. What we've got to do is get these players out and start again, and I mean the whole lot to start again. Otherwise,
honestly, I wouldn't cry.
I
honestly wouldn't cry if we sold this team. I would not be upset, and I include Aubameyang and Lacazette in that as well. I honestly would not be upset, and I've never said that. I've never said that. In the 32 years I've supported Arsenal, it would have been horrendous if we would have lost Thierry Henry or Vieira in the Invincible days. This team, I have no kind of love or passion for any one of those players that I sit there and go, he's my favourite one, don't want to get rid of him. And I should be saying that about Aubameyang, and I should be saying that about Lacazette, and even Leno and Torreira when he's on a good day. Those sort of players I'd normally love, but as a collective, there's just no team effort. And I look at teams around us like Wolves, Sheffield United, even Leicester, even Chelsea, who have obviously had a couple of bad results but have looked amazing for me this season from what I expected. They're all playing as a team. We do not play as a team. Individually, I don't think the players are horrendous as they've been playing as a team. I honestly believe that it's just a lack of confidence, a lack of quality together, a lack of knowledge, a lack of coaching, tactical sort of analysis. There's nothing there that I look at as a collect and just think, this team are looking like they just need somebody to come in and just give them a little bit of a sort of, pat on the back, and they'll all be fine. This is some serious work that needs to be done here, and I come back to it again. I don't think Arteta can do that. I think that he's going to potentially have a great style if we believe what we hear that he's learning off Pep. We hear that Xabi Alonso or Javi may come with him as a number 2. Yeah, brilliant. I welcome that. But is he really going to sort us out defensively? I just don't think he will.
The problem is as well, like we keep talking about, throw the youngsters in instead. And when I look at that group of youngsters, I think some of them are so bloody overrated. I mean, Gabriel Martinelli comes in. He has got that typical South American, I'm never going to give up any ball attitude. He works like an absolute beast. He for me, epitomizes what a young player should be like. Gets his opportunity, gives everything every time he's on the pitch, makes things happen. His attitude is 100% spot on. Matteo Guendouzi, at times I've criticised him. At times I think he's a little bit theatrical. I think he gets involved in shit that he shouldn't, like with the referees throwing himself on the floor. But you can tell that's a kid that wants to win and a kid that's got the desire to go to the very top. And then I look at Reece Nelson and I look at Joe Willock and I don't see that. I genuinely don't see that. I don't see that.
And I would agree. I would agree with you, mate. I would agree with you.
I don't see that same fire in them. Is it because the likes of Gabriel Martinelli have come from Brazil in the lower leagues, Whereas somebody like Joe Willock has grown up in an Arsenal academy. Is it that? Maybe. I don't know. But for me, I just look at those guys, and I think it's all good saying that our big players are not good enough and they're not doing it. But I don't look at the alternatives and think that they're going to make any difference.
I have to agree with you.
One point there, though. If I was Reece Nelson, right? Yeah. Maybe he's given up a little bit because he's seeing Pepe play rubbish every week and he's been overlooked. And thinking to yourself, what have I got to do? You know what I mean? Like, I do worry about it. Seko, for instance, I don't think has been great, but the last 2 games at left back has been sensational since he played left back. He's going to have to play there now for 3 or 4 games because, funny enough, we've got 2 of our midfield players are going to have to play fullbacks for the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Unbelievable, isn't it?
It's unbelievable. You know what I mean? We knew that Bellerin wasn't going to be ready for this season, but we still didn't go and buy a right back. Now, these are all little problems that are going to say, and we're coming to the end of the show now. So I just want a quick thing, like, it's, with Ancelotti going to Everton, it's all but done that Arteta is going to come to Arsenal. You've got to do 3 little things. If you was Arteta, what would those 3 things be, Harry? What would you do? The first 3 things you'd do?
Oh, it's a tough one, isn't it? Where do you start? First of all, I'd get a backroom staff in with me. And I'd insist on bringing the people that I wanted with me, not the ones that the club are going to put in place. I think when you're somebody like, if we're led to believe the stuff we hear about Arteta, which is that he's got a very clear philosophy, that he's someone that the club are looking to have in the long term, then you've got to let him do what he wants in the sense that he's got to bring the right people with him. That's the first thing. Secondly, he's got to instill some kind of philosophy into this team and stick with it. He can't be doing what Unai Emery did, and that was changing things every week because out of desperation to get results. You've got to just write off this season if you're going to do that and look at the long term. You've got to get someone in who has a clear way of playing and let them implement that. And it's going to be painful at the beginning, but you got to let him do that.
Well, sorry, I just want to quick. Someone's just messaged me, which is a good little, very interesting. Like, what would you think about if Arsenal were to bring back Fabregas in January?
I'd be all for it. He's better than the shit we got. That's the point.
Yeah, of course I'd love it. He's a fan favourite, and I think at 33 he could still do a job for us because I don't rate any of our other midfielders. So I would 100% say that, and I think that's something that we need. And when you said what 3 things would I do, one of them was kind of linked to that, was to get the fans back on side, because this toxic fan base is doing me in at the moment, and I think we need something to try and get us united. And I think that Arteta, as much as I've I still don't believe that it's quite an underwhelming sort of appointment. I do believe that if he can try and unite the fans like Duncan Ferguson's done at Everton and try and get them together and show a bit of passion on the sideline, then perhaps that's a good way forward. The other 2 things I'd do is work out which ones of these players are coachable, because I believe there's 5 or 6 that are not coachable now because they're just at the age where they're not going to, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. I believe that in Luiz and Socrates and even some of the late 20-year-olds like Kolasinac and Xhaka. I just don't think they've got it in them to turn their style around. And the last thing I'd do is implement a style. And that would be, if he's going to learn off Pep Guardiola, make sure you implement that style with the young players that you believe you can coach into that way of playing football. They're the 3 things that I do. But it's an interesting point about Fabregas because we hear quite a lot about Arteta being linked with the Spanish players, and I've already mentioned that Xabi Alonso is favourite to come as his number 2, and if not, then Xavi, because you've got to remember that Pep will need a number 2, and it looks like he's going to go for one of those players if Arteta does come. So that would be interesting to see if that would then lure Fabregas back, because I would love to have him personally. I wanted him to come back for years. Fella
just texted me and just said, "What about Fabregas?" Because what he would do is he's come through the academy, he knows what it's all about, and players would look up to him. He wouldn't be able to play week in, week out, but he would give us something that we haven't got at this moment in time.
And we'd also be able to get him for fairly cheap, because I think he's at Monaco still, and he must be 33, is he? Something like that.
Yeah, and I
wouldn't have thought it'd be that much in January. So I'd be more than happy with that. I really would. And I didn't really want to get rid of Cazorla either. I know he had injury problems, but I thought he's still better than what we got. Santi Cazorla. Yeah, these players we've lost.
He's having a good season.
Not been replaced. A very good season. You just think these players we've lost, we haven't replaced them, so live with the same quality. You know, we're replacing Fabregas with Coquelin, and we're looking at getting rid of, getting in Granit Xhaka, and when we're losing like Aaron Ramsey and all this, you just think, no, we've lost the heart of our midfield, and so many players have left us now, like Sanchez's, and not been replaced, and it's sorry times, mate. It's sorry times, boys. It really is.
Fabregas is 32. He's 32, right? And guess who his agent is?
Go on.
Darren Dean.
Is he still his agent?
It is.
Yeah.
So, like, I think, he would do something. He'd give us something. I tell you what, like, someone just said he hasn't got the legs, or like, nor has Mesut Ozil. You know what I mean? Like, and I just think that there'd be. Do you know what I think he would do? He would. Just thinking about it, would come here and try and prove a point. You know what I mean? And I think it'd be it'd be a good thing to do. As you say, at Monaco, we'd jump at the chance to come back to London. I think that it would be a good thing, and probably like say to him, like, come and play for us for a couple of years, maybe go and do your coaching badges while you're at it or whatever. Like, I think I don't know. I'll tell you what, we'll leave it on that note with a little bit of positivity. Like, one of the old boys may come back. We never know. Like, you know what I mean? But just get some legs around him as well. That's what we need. Like,
That's it as well. Just a quick one, guys. It's coming up on Twitter, and I haven't looked into this. I'm just reading it, but Craig's mentioned it in the comments as well, that City are looking for compensation for Mikel Arteta.
Well, that's the end of that then.
David Ornstein has said that Arsenal have held 2 meetings with Arteta. They're yet to inform City, who would want a 7-figure sum of compensation. Arteta has informed City about the talks, and senior figures at Arsenal feel the ex-player can help to get the AFC identity back. That's what's going around Twitter at the moment. Obviously, I haven't looked into it because we're on.
So we'll be looking for somebody else now. Then, like, you know what I mean. So that's the end of that. Like,
Big Sam won't want compensation, will he? He's a free
I'll tell you what,
agent,
I'll take Big Sam. I'll take a Big Sam. Come and be I wouldn't say managed, but like, come and help us out in our defending, because it'd certainly improve it. Like, so I'm for anybody, whether it be Big Sam, Tony Adams, Martin Keown, any of them coming in and sorting out that rubbish that we got at the back. Like, that's it. There you go. Like,
yeah, I'm with you there, mate.
Thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure, as always. Hour and 10 minutes we've been going, and it's been gone so quick. It's unreal how quick it goes. Like, thanks to everybody in the chat. Some fascinating stuff. Sometimes it's very, very interesting to be sitting looking at this, and as well as trying to involve yourself in conversations. But absolutely brilliant, like, so thanks for all the contributions in the chat. Thanks to you, Harry. I know you've been a little bit down today, like, but you never know.
Furious. I'm in a bad mood today. I apologise, everyone.
No worries. I think we're all in a bad mood, like, Dan, thank you very much for coming on as per usual. Hopefully, I don't know what's going to happen next week, because I don't know if we've got a show next week or not. We'll have to just look out on the Twitter and see if there is or there isn't. Like, I'm off to Everton up in Liverpool and Manchester for the weekend. So I'm looking forward to that, and then obviously back, and we're getting quite near Christmas. So if, we'll see what it is. But if we're not on, listen, have a nice Christmas, everybody. And
Lee, can I just plug something quick?
Go on, plug.
On Wednesday, I've got my preview for Arsenal Everton game. I think, Lee, you're with me, aren't you, Wednesday? And then we've got a couple of Everton fans on with us as well, just to discuss that game at the weekend. So join us at 7 o'clock on Wednesday for me and Lee to have a chat about hopefully an Arsenal win at the weekend against Everton.
There you go, like that. And then hopefully we'll be back. If we're not back on Monday, as I say, like, have a lovely Christmas, everybody. Thanks for everybody for watching, and the contributions throughout the year has been absolutely fantastic. We've loved it, boys, haven't we? Like, and
absolutely.
Quickly before we go, Olympiacos in the Harry's happy about that, by the way. That's the only thing that's made him smile.
I am. It's an excuse. It's an excuse to go to Greece without the missus.
Yeah, that's it. Like, you know what I mean. So enjoy that trip. Like, so we've got them in the Europa League. Hopefully by then we'll have a new manager as well. Like, so thanks for joining us, everybody. Up the Arsenal, and we go again next week.
Up the Arsenal.